All rise. Court is back in session.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. Go ahead and have a seat. Give us just a moment to sit, get comfortable, and let me log in. Well, counsel, Mr. Campos, good morning.
Good morning.
And we're on the record on CR 2022-5716 and 2022-8032. And we are taking up sentencing, and counsel, I understand we are proceeding, is that true?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right, well, how we will proceed is I'll invite sentencing recommendations from the state. Turn to defense counsel for that. If the state has any rebuttal, we'll provide that. Mr. Campos, you'll have an opportunity to address the court prior to sentence. And let me make the inquiry. First, is there going to be any witnesses that will be called today?
Your Honor, the state does have some victims present. Other than that, we'd just like to make your statements.
And thank you. So with regards to that, will they be making victim statements, or are they reading them, or how would you like to proceed?
I believe that they will be reading them, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. Then that's where we will actually start, and I will invite an introduction of whomever might be presenting those. You'll come forward. All right, thank you. The court will have comments and reflection upon what I have heard with regards to those statements, and now would invite the state to make its sentencing recommendations.
Thank you, Your Honor. After hearing both of those impact statements, I think that the plea agreement is appropriate. I understand the defendant does not have a significant or even remarkable criminal history. However, I think anything less than the 2 years fixed time in prison would depreciate the seriousness of the crime. He was in a position of power. He was in a position of trust, and he did take advantage of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the state have any restitution to comment upon or file, or is that something you'd like the court to hold open?
I would ask that you reserve that, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Cummins, what's the defense's recommendation?
Your Honor, what we've just heard is basically a tragic story. My client himself is a victim of sexual abuse, but I think looking backward, it doesn't really provide any help in this situation. While he has been in jail for the last 2 years, my client has finished his GED, has taken other courses, and has worked to improve himself. He fully plans on getting treatment. Certain the court would order it, but whether they did or not, he wants to get treatment as he re-enters the community. And it's treatment that he can get without having to actually go to prison. There is the fact that this agreement was for 2 years. My client has been in jail for 2 years at this point. He has a stable place to go stay, where there's no issue with bad influences. He has work that he can do, and we would ask the court honor the stipulated agreement for the 2 years and consider the time that my client has spent in custody. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Campos, are you interested in making any statement before the court pronounces sentence?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may.
Well, I'd like to start off by saying that Growing up, I didn't have good structure. That is true. I didn't live my life as an honest person would. I did have a problem with lying and manipulation. I'd been through, as a teenager, I think I've been through more than your average adult goes through in their whole lifetime. I've taken certain steps in my life to ensure that something like this doesn't happen. And again, after hearing statements, whether anyone wants to think that I show emotion, whether I don't show emotion, this has haunted me for a long time. It's haunted me a long time. I lost everything because of my actions. I lost my wife. I lost my kids. I lost my family. I lost everything in my life. All because of my actions and what I've done. And I'm not making excuses. I own up to what I did. I have fought like crazy to change my life around. I didn't want to live the way I was living before, and I decided that I wasn't going to squander my time while incarcerated, and so I took it upon myself. I battled myself for a long time. I wanted to fix the issues that were going on within myself, and it came down to I was afraid of being alone. I was neglected a lot growing up. I then lost my parents. I wasn't able to attend my little brother's funeral because I was incarcerated. He committed suicide, so I decided that I wanted to take a different step, and I started to attend the 12 Steps Recovery. And for the past 2 years, I go every week, and I haven't missed a single week. I've learned a lot about myself. I spent a lot of time alone. I wanted to be able to live my life alone, where I didn't have to depend on anybody but just myself. I wanted to overcome my issues, you could say, and I've worked really hard, really hard the past few years, and I think ultimately 2 years is appropriate. And I am sorry. I am very sorry for my actions. I know I've hurt people, and Tavia especially, in more ways than I could probably imagine. And there's no going back in time and undoing what happened. But if there's anything I could do to help, which I know that's probably little to nothing at this point, then I would. And I know she's very strong, she's very capable. I watched her grow up. I had a good family that I took advantage of, and I truly never intended to hurt anybody. I was dealing with my own issues, and I didn't understand how to cope with my losses and my grief and just life in general. I was very suicidal for most of my life. I was never happy with my life. I was never happy where I was at, and truly believed that anybody cared about me or that anybody loved me. And that's just due to the neglect I had my whole life, and that's something that a lot of people don't understand because I never talked about it. And that was my biggest issue in life, is I never talked about what was going on, I had everything I went through, my feelings, my hurt, my pain. I never talked about it, and instead I kept it bottled up, and I lashed out, and I made everybody hate me. Essentially, I wasn't a very good person. I hurt a lot of people, and I continue to hurt a lot of people. I hurt my kids. I hurt my wife. I hurt my parents. I hurt Tavia. I hurt everybody. And that's not something that I wanted to do. It's not something that I imagined myself doing. I'm not going to make excuses for what I did. I won't ever make an excuse for what I did. My kids have to grow up without their father. And I love my kids with everything that a father has for the love a father has for their kids. And I really don't have, I have people who care about me. I have a good support system. I don't have what I had before all this. I lost everything, and that is my fault. That's something that I did to myself. And I know counseling would go a long way. I know sex treatment would probably go a long way with me as well. I wish that I could rekindle relationships with my family. I know that's probably never going to happen, and that's something I have to live with. Everything I've done, it's something I have to live with for the rest of my life, and that's something that's never going to go away. And that's something I'm always going to pay a price for, regardless of my incarceration or if I'm out with the community. It's something I have to live with for the rest of my life, and that's something that I have to try to cope and try to handle. And it's been hard. It's been really hard. I think about what I've done every day. I think about not a day passes that I don't feel sorry, I don't feel bad for my actions and the people that I've hurt in my life. I just truly wish that it doesn't make my family bitter. My actions don't affect them to the point to where they feel hopeless or they feel worthless. I know the feeling of feeling hopeless. I know the feeling of feeling worthless. I know the feeling of being a victim in a sex offenses like this. I know what it feels like to be forced. I know what it feels like to be held down. I know what it feels like. At the end of the day, I can't argue with what anyone says, but between God and I know what's happened and what took place, and God knows how I feel like God will be the ultimate judgment of me, and I just hope that someday my family can forgive me. I hope that my kids will forgive me. I hope Tavia will forgive me, and I hope that I can fully forgive myself. So that's one thing that I think I'm going to struggle with for the rest of my life, is forgiving myself. And I don't want it to drive me crazy, but it's not something that I can do as of right now. I can't forgive myself for what I've done, for my actions. And my kids are going to have to grow up humiliated. They're going to have to experience being made fun of and being teased. Their father is what their father is, and that's something that I'm not going to be able to change. And so I've hurt a lot of people in the long run, and I never thought about what my actions would bring. And here we are today, 3 years later, and I also want to apologize for all the delays and all the continuances. It's something I wanted to bring peace to my victims as fast as possible, so I never imagined it would take this long, and for that I do apologize to my victims and to the courts. And that's all I have to say, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Counsel, I know each of you were not initially brought in for representation on this case, but do you know or recall, was this case mediated through settlement, or did the parties reach this agreement through their own discussions?
It was mediated, Your Honor.
Okay, that's my recollection as well. That will become a consideration that the court has when fashioning a sentence. Sir, are you recognizing, and I'll have more comments about the number of attorneys that you have worked with to bring us to court today, but in consideration of all of those attorneys, are you satisfied with their representation?
I am, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. And then counsel, is there any legal reason why the court should not proceed?
No, Your Honor, there's not.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, if I just may briefly respond.
Sure.
The state does appreciate the defendant's words today. Hopefully they can help bring some closure to the victims in this case. The state would ask that the court hold him to his words, what he's said today, and by that I mean the 2 years fixed, as well as the state would ask for a minimum of 10 years indeterminate as well. The state is also asking that you extend this NCO to 20 years, and that includes not just the victim but also her family and the victim's child in common with the defendant as well.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, let me begin with just my expression of gratitude towards counsel. As I said earlier, I note that neither one of you began representation at the filing of this case, and I know that you, Mr. Campos, have gone through a number of different attorneys that have been outside their control and outside your control. There was not a need to apologize. I recognized in each of those circumstances that there was a need for a change of counsel because of conflict, and it resulted in many delays. And so the court's appreciative of your patience. I recognize that over the course of these 2 years. And of course, I very much appreciate the patience of those that were harmed and those that have been affected by this case. The delay has been painful for them as well. And so appropriately, and lastly, we arrive today at that moment in time and when the court is tasked with the responsibility of sentencing you. I want you to know what I have done in preparation for that, sir, and that is to listen carefully to the remarks of the attorneys. I appreciate and respect their perspective, noting that the parties sought mediation and the resolution came by way of an agreement. That's of consideration to the court. And also the court notes that there are 4 objectives that must be satisfied. In order for me to prepare for that, I listened carefully to the lawyer's remarks. I listened carefully to the victims who have made statements, and I'll have very specific comments about the things that the court has heard in their regard. And then also I've listened very carefully to the things that you have said, and they are notable as well. Over the court's pronouncement of sentence, you'll hear me discuss those things that are favorable for you and in consideration of the sentence that I must consider. And then also those things that very much cut against favorability, the aggravation of the case and the very nature of the offense causes this court to pause and reflect deeply on what an appropriate sentence might be. All of this is guided by 4 objectives of criminal punishment, and the first is protection of society. And I could pause and stop and visit with you and those that are in the courtroom today about each of these objectives. They're all important in your case, and none more important than protection of society, because what you did certainly affects the welfare of others, as we heard today. I want to deter you and others from committing any other offenses. That is done by evaluating your circumstances, the nature of the case, and your prior criminal history, which the state acknowledged was minimal. I also want to focus on your rehabilitation and that is important. The state and you entered in an agreement which caps the court's jurisdiction on this matter to a certain amount. So naturally, I have an interest in ensuring that you receive the help that you need, and I think it's very credible that the mother essentially was suggesting the same thing, and I'll have more to say about that. But that's my objective, is to ensure that you receive the help that is needed, because you do need help. Your thinking was flawed, it was criminal, and it was harmful, and that needs attention. And lastly, there needs to be punishment for the wrongdoing. And you began that on the first day of custody, and it has endured, as counsel suggested, through 2 years while the delay has taken place. So all of these objectives will be satisfied in the court's mind. Let me just share a few reflections that I have as I've listened and learned about the circumstances of this case that I would highlight. And frankly, it's difficult to know really where to begin and what words to use to describe adequately the way your actions have affected the lives of so many. You acknowledged that in your statement. You went through the list of individuals, the victim, the family, your own family, your children. And I'm happy to hear that you have recognized that. Let me speak directly, however, to the way in which you affected the victim of this case. You altered her life forever. And it is heartbreaking to hear her describe how this began and how she fell in love with you. And that's the very reason these laws and statutes are created, is to protect those that cannot protect themselves, a child. You were a mature adult, and I accept that you were harmed as a child yourself. You were a victim of similar traumatic experiences. But what that causes the court to question is, despite that, did you know what you were doing was wrong? And I believe you did. In fact, I'm quite certain that at your age, with a young child such as this, that you would not have known how very wrong it was. And so it's heartbreaking to hear that that affection towards you began, and it began as a result of your own sexual gratification. To hear the victim describe it as experimentation again conveys to the court what you were doing, you knew to be wrong, and it was for your own gratification at the expense of a minor child, one who was very tender in years, barely a teenager. And you think of the kinds of maturity that needs to take place for someone at that age to fully comprehend what consent means and fully comprehend what this kind of sexual activity means. And as a result of this, a pregnancy. And again, how does this court appropriately comment upon this outcome? I'm lost for words, because I know the source of joy as I'm looking now into the mother's eyes and seeing the recognition. First, the consideration of suicide, and then the determination of perhaps an adoption. And then lastly, ultimately, making that incredibly difficult decision to become a mother at this very young age and care for a mother or care as a mother. There's nothing that I can say to adequately represent what is the appropriate emotion for anyone that hears this, let alone the court who has to make decisions regarding it. All I know is my reaction to what I heard the victim say today is that she is poised in her delivery of her message, and she is a remarkably strong young lady that was forced to make adult decisions based upon your gratification. Every person in this courtroom, which includes you, I'm sure, sir, based on your comments, wishes wellness upon you as a mother and upon your child and upon all of those around you that are providing love and support. The mother's comments were credible as well. I found that comment about a 15-year-old being curious to the world, to reflect upon that and recognize that's the very nature of a 15-year-old brain, and that is why your actions are so offensive and troubling. Is the laws protect children against that curiosity, and you are, sir, to be held accountable for that. It also is heartbreaking to recognize that you have affected her future relationships. I hope that doesn't endure forever. As she made those comments about males in general, again, with love, support, therapy, and treatment, I hope that the pain and anguish associated with all of this can be mitigated and hopefully removed entirely in life, and you can have fruitful and productive relationships. But it doesn't change the fact, Mr. Campos, that you injured and harmed her. Those are the things that stand out in the court's mind of aggravation. Here are the things that the court considers in mitigation, which includes the plea agreement. You came to court, I believe, after this mediation, anxious to be held accountable. I won't overlook that you have been patient through the proceedings, that despite your statement of not being able to demonstrate emotion over the course of your lifetime, and that being a source of difficulty for you, you demonstrated it today. That emotion was most prominent as you described the things that you have lost, including your own family. And the court acknowledges that loss in your life as well. I will restate your statement that you have fought for change while in custody. I hope that that fight continues, that this court, in its own experience through many years, believes that change is possible. And I hope that you're encouraged to continue to fight for that change in your life. And that comes concurrently while being held accountable for your actions. And I think that those involved, and again, I'm looking to them, seeing the acknowledgements that they want you to continue to fight for that change. And you should be encouraged that they want that for you. So change is possible. So, counsel and Mr. Campos, I recognize that this was a negotiated plea agreement. These are relatively new counsel before this court. You would likely hear from your colleagues that this court strives in every opportunity to follow as much as I possibly can negotiated settlements. The defendant benefits from the change of the charge. I would say, had that not taken place, sir, given the facts of this case, I would have placed you on an indeterminate period of life. The statute requires that the maximum is 25 years, and that's what this court will do, is place you on an indeterminate period for that maximum time. The parties had negotiated a plea agreement of 2 years fixed. I will not be able to follow that specific recommendation, and it will be for a 5-year fixed, with the balance being a unified sentence of 25 years. And again, I do that very thoughtfully. You might think that I'm exceeding the recommendations of the parties, and I am, but again, I'm influenced by the fact that there was an agreement and that it came as a result. I know that these mediations take place with the support of the family, and the process involves being able to be heard, and because of that, I'm limiting that sentence to the 5 years, but I am not comfortable in going as low as the 2. You will be given credit for the time that you have served. There will be a $5,000 fine along with a $5,000 compensatory fine. Court costs and the Victims Relief Fund are standard in this case. Restitution will be held open for a reasonable amount of time. This generally includes time to assess counseling and those needs. Despite the recognition that there have been multiple attorneys representing you over the course of this case, simply understanding the new system that we have in public defense, there will be a $500 reimbursement of the services of the public defender, and I'll pronounce to you the potential remedies that are available from this sentence. But before I do you have any questions about what the court has done?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. You have the right to appeal this judgment within 42 days. Post-conviction relief expires a year after that, and a Rule 35 expires in 120 days. And Mr. Cummings can visit with you about these potential remedies if any of them are applicable. Okay? All right. Well, thank you all who were involved in today's proceeding, and we are in recess.
Here, yes,
Your Honor, did you want to address the no contact order on the record?
Thank you. Before we end, that was just naturally to be understood. I'll preserve the no contact order that remains through the duration of the court's jurisdiction. Any comment or objection to that, sir? All right. Thank you. Thank you, counsel, for highlighting that.
All rise.